I'm Liz Findlay, and welcome to this podcast series on inspiring spiritual entrepreneurs. We'll be chatting with some of the wonderful business owners who come to Starseed Business Networking. This is a free monthly meeting I co-host on Zoom with Steve Nobel, and you can find details of the next meeting on the events page of my website, lizfindlay.com. Today, we have the pleasure of chatting with Glynnis Harris Rowe. Glynnis is a storyteller, weaving energy into stories to bring healing to the collective. She works with medium to large companies, infusing sustainable technology into scripts for a new world. So Glynnis, welcome and thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Liz. It's great to meet you.
Good to meet you. Can you share your journey on how you became self-employed?
Sure. My journey started really young. I was a child born into a family with zero communication skills. So I had to find a place that I felt happy and comfortable. And that was in my mom's closet. I loved all of the fancy dress clothing, shoes, bags, dresses, and I would go and I would play. And that was how I expressed myself as a child. Later on, it developed into, in high school, throughout my years in high school, I would become different characters throughout the years. I'm sure we all did at some point, went through phases. And when it was time to leave school, I studied fashion design. And throughout my journey of my 3 years at fashion school, I found out that I was not a fashion designer, but I liked finding the whole character, all the little bits and bobs that make someone who they are. So I went after school, as we all do, and I traveled and I learned a bit more about myself as a human being, and found my way into the film industry. I started off at the very bottom, buying, and I worked my way up over a period of 20 years to a head of department. Film is not the most glamorous place in the world. What you see on the television isn't exactly what happens. For most of the years that I worked 18-hour days.
Wow, that is a lot.
Yeah, it's quite heavy. So from what I went into wanting to be very creative, a lot of the energy that I had was sapped. And I made a decision later on, this is now about 8 years ago, to start writing. As a child, I always loved books and characters, and I wanted to develop my own. So I began that journey.
So when you were in this film industry, you said it isn't quite as glamorous as what people see on screen. And so what are some of the other things behind the scenes that got you to really leave that behind?
I wanted to take part in my own life and have a bit more stability, not always be on the road and living in hotels and bouncing from one thing to the next. I wanted to figure out who I was because I'd lost who I was. I became whoever people wanted me to be. I'd forgotten who I am, what my soul is, and how to ground myself. So I wanted to figure out my own story instead of living everyone else's storylines. And I found that through writing.
And what about the social life of a crew member?
There is no social life unless you're your crew. You eat, sleep, work together, 18-hour days, and you don't get to see your family much. If you do, it's normally on your day off doing washing and in between sleeping and buying groceries. It's not a sustainable life, and there is no balance whatsoever.
And so when you left this industry, did you have any moment of sort of crashing, burning?
Of course. I was completely burnt out. I officially left in COVID. I was forced into a decision that I could either go back and do something that was against my moral code, or I could carry on working online. I was an online English teacher, and in that way, I was earning enough money to pay my bills and continued writing and connecting with people on the internet, which is the most incredible place to meet a whole variety of people. We have been given a tool to find whoever you want energetically. You just have to be brave enough to do it. You have to sit and think about, what is it that I really want? Who's the kind of person I want to partner up with? And they'll be there in the strangest ways. They'll arrive, and it's beautiful. So it's about trusting and not always trying to follow the same path in your journey. We all create our own storyline, and we plan it, and sometimes you've just got to let it go and be free. So
I can see, looking back on my journey, it didn't go to my very cognitive plan that I had laid out. And it actually worked out in the most perfect way for me. And it's very difficult at the start of that self-employed journey to foresee all the possibilities and maybe even the highest timeline. And it's only once you're down the journey that you can look back and relax and be like, wow, I was actually being supported that whole way, even if it felt like baptism of fire.
I can relate to you 100%. So during my journey teaching, I was working with engineers, researchers, doctors, and a whole variety of men and women, adults in Turkey, teaching them English.
Oh, wow.
And on topics that I have absolutely no idea how to talk about. I don't know much about science or engineering or what a doctor really does in a lab. I had doctors talking to me with their kids running outside of a door, trying to do research for the lovely thing that happened to us for 2 years. So it was an interesting way. It was baptism by fire to figure out what I wanted to do. And through all of those people, I felt another storyline that I wanted to write. And that's where the universe stepped in and gifted me with finding the right people to bring it forward.
And I love how you did this English teaching job to get the finances. I think a lot of starseeds leaving corporate world, they have this idea. I had this idea that I'm just going to set up my business and I'm going to have clients lined up around the block. And that's not how it works. And it's totally okay to have a part-time income to see you through that transition period. I had that. I did bookkeeping for an interior designer for a while. Just one day a week. I was very blessed. He was very flexible. But it's a wonderful support. And what I hear from you is that gave you further inspiration.
100%. So I taught adults and then I transitioned into teaching children. I don't have my own children. And the gift about teaching children when you don't have your own children is you talk to them like they're adults. And they love that. They love it that there is an adult in another country teaching them a subject that they are not really that into at school, who's asking them questions about themselves. And they have gifted me 1,000,000 times over. The young star seeds in this world are going to blow your mind what they are bringing. They are so special.
And so in tune and connected.
They don't even have to try. It's just who they are. It's perfect.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that journey. Very inspirational. And can you share one tip with our audience here on something that helped you in your business?
Sure. So in big business meetings, when you feel like you're fumbling and you're not quite sure of what to say, and you just blurt things out, and afterwards you're, like, why did I say that? What have I done? Think back on the harsh things that you're telling yourself and pull up a picture of yourself as a child. I have a picture of myself at 5 years old, sitting on a swing. And when I start that terrible dialogue of everything that I've done wrong, I talk to her and I guide her, because she was just doing what she felt at that moment was correct. So don't criticize yourself always as an adult. Look at the child version of you, and it heals you as you're going, because you wouldn't talk to a child the way you talk to yourself.
Yeah, that is so true. Thank you. I really love that, because it's so practical and simple to pull up a photo. I think there are a lot of people out there who do struggle a little bit with visualization. So it's all fine and well to say, visualize your child's self and have a little chat with them. But I think using the tool of a photo is a lot more tangible for some people and really helpful. So thanks for sharing that. I know with some of my webinars, if I've maybe run over time, I've got that inclination afterwards to sit down and, well, how can this be improved upon, and all of that. And sometimes I just need to grab that child self and say, you did a really good job. Well done. That's what I'm needing. So thank you for that. Say that again.
Keep it up.
Yes, keep it up. Well, Glynnis, thank you so much. For those of you who'd like to connect with Glynnis, with her storytelling, you can catch her website. It's glynnis.co.za, and that's Glynnis with a double N. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your journey and that wonderful tip with the picture of yourself as a child.
Thank you, Liz. It's incredible to meet you. And thank you to both you and Steve for all the work that you do.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And we hope to see you at the next Starseed Business Networking meeting.
I'll be there.
Right. Bye, everyone. Bye.